Hey, what's up? This is Joe. I'm in Toronto, Virginia, and I wanted to make this video to share with you the ride that I took after I left South Texas. Basically, my mom had been suffering from a number of kidney infections and kidney stones and things like that. So I wanted to come home to Southwest Virginia to see her. As I got on the road a little ways, I got the fortunate news that she'd made a complete recovery and was back at work. So meanwhile, there was a motorcycle in Pennsylvania that I'd had my eye on for quite some time. So I decided to jet up there real quick and take a look at it. Before I could get there, however, my fuel pump went out yet again just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, where I was stuck at the Montgomery Bell State Park for about 4 days while I waited on another fuel pump. And by that time, I got the news that the bike had been sold, so it wasn't meant to be. And although I'd frankly missed out on sort of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity on the bike, I was extremely relieved that I could now sort of take my time and get back home at my own pace. So as always, if you enjoy this video, please hit like and subscribe. And as usual, I've included an optional donate link in the drop box if you'd like to contribute to this project. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the road. After I left Rick and Josie's place in South Texas, I pressed on northward. I was headed back home to Southwest Virginia to see my mom, who'd been having a series of kidney problems, as well as try to sit down and do some work on my bike. The heat was already nearing the mid-90s as I approached a checkpoint about 50 miles north of the U.S.-Mexico border. Around 1 p.m. I stopped at a grocery store to pick up a rotisserie chicken, and since I was already feeling pretty roasted myself, decided to make camp at my nearby spot in Victoria, Texas. You may remember this as the site of an unusual late-night encounter with a pack of wild hogs, which didn't bother me but were a little unnerving to sleep around. So I'm out here in my little spot in Victoria, Texas. This is a free camp next to the river. The heat today has been absolutely freaking rude. Got an early start and left at the same time Rick was going to work. And now I'm out here absolutely roasting to death. Been pounding the Pedialyte and the water and stuff. I'm about to go jump in this river over here. Wow, that was an absolute necessity. Unbearably hot out here. The river's about the same temperature as the bath water at home. If you swim out a little bit, there are a couple of pockets of cooler water, so pretty refreshing. That evening, I'd gotten the news that my mom's kidney infection had cleared up and she was back at work. This was a great source of relief since I'd already lost both my father and grandparents and was running low on family. For months, I'd been checking the motorcycle classifieds from Texas to New York, and there was an insane deal on a bike in Pennsylvania I wanted to see. It was anybody's guess how long it was going to last at the current asking price, or if I could even make it there, but I made a plan to ride hard and fast to Pittsburgh, over 1,500 miles away. So it's about 6 in the morning, and I got a motorcycle to look at. Only problem is it's about 1,500 miles away. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so we got a little bit of road ahead of us, so let's go. Many times I'd ridden across the great state of Texas, but the ride north was going to be a new experience for me. I was amazed by the enormity of the state, and by the time I made it to Texarkana, was burnt to a crisp and ready to stop. I love camping in the woods as much as the next guy, but after the last couple of days baking in the hot sun, I searched for the cheapest room in town. It was here I chilled out in the AC, showered, and woke up early to continue the journey across Arkansas and into Tennessee. So 6 a.m. found this room in the ghetto of Texarkana on the Arkansas-Texas line. So waking up early, gonna put down some miles while it's cool, and hopefully make it to Nashville. Mindlessly, I drifted along Interstate 40 until I reached Memphis, a historic trade hub which is also allegedly the birthplace of some of the best food and music in the country, not to mention the location of the Memphis Shades factory. I've been telling my boss Alan for several years I'd stop by sometime and tour the place, but for now it looked like my exploration of the city and factory would have to wait. I was about 50 miles outside of Nashville when my bike began sputtering and losing power, symptoms I'd become all too familiar with. I should have had my head examined for installing a questionable aftermarket fuel pump, but damn. The factory OEM assembly was running upwards of $600 and hard to get a hold of. I'd anticipated a problem like this, and several weeks earlier had a used assembly sent to my mom's address in Virginia. I stopped in the town of Bucksnort, Tennessee to try to cool off and plan my next move. A little town called Bucksnort, Tennessee, and my fuel pump's going out again. This cheap aftermarket deal I put in there. I had one shipped to my mom's place in Virginia, so she can send it to me as soon as I find a place to sort of camp and find an address and stuff like that. So. After looking at the map, I spied a bigger town a few miles down the road. If I could manage to find a campground there, it'd be a damn sight better than being broken down here in Bucksnort. I gave the screwed up fuel pump all she had and headed for Dixon. Looked like the bike in Pennsylvania would just have to wait. I spent the next 4 days exploring the grounds of the truly enormous Montgomery Bell State Park. Since my bike was still running, albeit rough, I headed into town each day to pick up supplies while I waited for my parts. Almost as soon as I'd gotten into Tennessee, I'd been reminded of my home state of Virginia, with the thick, deciduous vegetation, abundant wildlife, all manner of bugs and critters. There are many folks who associate heavy wilderness with the western part of the country, but this is truly one of the most alive places I've ever been. After a few days of waiting and limping my bike back and forth from town to the state park, my FedEx notification had come in and my parts were ready to be picked up at the Dollar General. I've been here for about 3 or 4 days at this campground, RV park type of deal. Not really my environs, but it's easier than anything because I have no idea how long the bike's gonna keep running. Learned my lesson from trying the cheap aftermarket stuff. Just got the delivery notification just up the street at a FedEx pickup store. So I'm gonna go up there and try to swap them out. I dived into my FedEx package in the parking lot of the Dollar General. Now I could get this puppy back on the road. Whether the used pump I'd ordered off eBay was even going to work was anybody's guess. So there she is. I'm sitting outside of the Dollar General store where I had this FedEx package delivered. So I'm going to replace this rubber gasket under there with a fresh one I got. Wish me luck as far as if this works. I'm going to take the chance on this used one I found on eBay. It looks like it's in pretty good shape. It's not really crusted together, so we'll see how it holds up. Unfortunately, I'd had my camera either off or pointed elsewhere, but my presence in the parking lot of this rural Tennessee town, tearing my bike apart, had attracted a number of country folks who'd come around to watch the proceedings. Apparently, I was the day's excitement. I imagine I wasn't the first guy to work on a vehicle out here, probably in this very parking lot, and by the looks of my spectators, any one of them would have been qualified to perform this work. That afternoon, I'd gotten a call from the lady in Pittsburgh. A man had come in with a wad of hundreds and walked out with the bike. This came as a huge source of relief since it had been seriously stressing me out since I left Victoria. Although I'd missed out on what appeared to be an amazing deal, I could now ride home at a relaxed pace. The replacement pump I bought off of eBay seems to be running all right. Heading back home to southwestern Virginia. Hopefully it'll hold up. I got about 500 miles. With the fuel pump working and my conscience clear, I was now free to take my time as I traveled back to my home state. This would mean taking back roads into the Appalachian Mountains, which I knew from experience was going to be sick. And although it didn't work out with the bike in Pennsylvania, I chalked the experience up to yet another twist of fate which seemed to be the norm in life rather than the exception. I twisted the throttle and rode into the mountains where I was born.